Back at it again, and we got to talk about a couple of stories because obviously the Kamala campaign is getting really, really desperate at this point. And so now you have a couple of stories that have recently dropped, and we're going to touch on both of those. And I know some of you are going to say, well, Rich, why are you touching on them? You know, it's just bringing more light to them. Well, we know mainstream media is going to run these stories to no end. And I guess it's up to me, folks like myself and others, independent, content creators, to debunk these stories, to address them. Just because we ignore them, it doesn't mean that these stories don't exist or they aren't being aired on national television. So with that being said, let's get into the first story of a swimsuit model back from 1993 that Trump allegedly did some things to. I don't buy it, but let's dive in.
CNN has a new interview with a former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model who alleges Donald Trump groped her in the 1990s. CNN's Sunlen Serfati spoke with Stacey Williams. Sunlen, what did she tell you about her encounter with Trump?
Well, Wolf, this is the first time that she's talking extensively about this. Stacey Williams claims that in 1993, she was out on a walk with Jeffrey Epstein, who she was dating briefly at the time. Now, they were walking down Fifth Avenue, she says, and Epstein suggested that they drop in and see Donald Trump in Trump Tower. What happened quickly next, she says, made her struggle with shame and embarrassment for the next 30 years.
The second he was in front of me, he pulled me into him, and his hands were just on me and didn't come off.
Former Sports Illustrated model Stacey Williams says that Donald Trump groped her more than 30 years ago in Trump Tower, with the later convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein watching and smiling in the room as it happened.
Then the hands started moving, and they were on the side of my breasts, on my hips, back down to my butt, back up, sort of then, they were just on me the whole time. And I froze.
Williams has not spoken out about the incident extensively until now. And in her first on-camera interview, she tells CNN the most detailed accounting of the incident yet, alleging that in 1993, Epstein, who she was briefly dating at the time, brought her into Trump Tower.
This context made no sense because the hands were on me, and then he and Jeffrey just kept talking and looking at each other and smiling.
After leaving Trump Tower, Williams said that Epstein berated her for allowing Trump to touch her.
I just had this really sickening feeling that it was coordinated, that somehow the whole thing was, I was rolled in there like a piece of meat for some kind of weird, twisted game.
Soon after the encounter, she severed ties with Epstein and said she was unaware of the kind of predatory behavior that would come to light in later years. She also says she received this undated postcard from Trump delivered to her modeling agency by courier shortly after the incident. Stacey, you're home away from home. Love, Donald.
I felt sick to my stomach.
Williams says she did not tell anyone about the incident for over 10 years.
I felt a wave of shame, and I just couldn't think about it, face it, talk about it for a very long time. I put it in a little box inside of me, turned the key, locked it.
CNN has spoken to 3 friends of Williams to corroborate her story, who each said that she told them about the incident with Trump and Epstein in 2006, 2015, and 16. The Trump campaign has denied Williams' allegations, calling it a fake story contrived by Kamala Harris's campaign. Williams' account only adding to the lengthy list of women who have alleged that Trump groped, kissed, or assaulted them.
Okay, so let's address this a little bit. First off, this is the first time she's talking about it publicly. First time. It's been 30 years. 30 years. I mean, this man has been president once before, right? He's been in the spotlight for forever, the entire 30 years. He had a very, very popular television show. You guys remember The Apprentice. He's been pictured with every celebrity, politician that there is, and now you decide to reveal this story? Really? it's true. I'm just saying I don't buy it. I just don't. I just don't. 30 years later, ladies, I know there's a lot of women that watch. Comment below, please. Has there been? How do the ladies feel about this? Because I got to get a woman's perspective on this, because like this is crazy to me. 30 years later. 30 years. Like, it didn't occur to you to, like, hey, maybe I should let people know who this guy really is and what he did, 30, like, a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, 25. Like, you wait till 30 years later, 2 weeks before an election, when he's clearly winning. I don't know. I'm not buying it personally. And then they talked about an undated postcard. Notice they added that part. It's undated postcard that was allegedly sent after the, not long after the incident. Really? But it just happens to be undated? Okay. And your evidence to corroborate this story is a couple of her friends. Really? All right. Okay. Interesting. I'm not buying it personally. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. But then also, I want to show you guys this, because I believe this is important as well. So she said it happened in 93, after, while Epstein was living in his brownstone, place. Well, there's a problem. Epstein moved into the townhouse in 1996. How did that happen in 93 if he didn't even have that property until 96? Now, this is from Business Insider, okay? Right here. This article was put out in 2019. So before any of this, because there's going to be articles that are going to come out now and say, oh, no, that is proven true. Epstein did own it, right? No. Let's go back to some older articles that aren't politically influenced, right? So this is from 2019, July 13th of 2019. You can clearly see here, and this is talking about that brownstone townhouse, right? Upper East Side. Right here, Epstein moved into the townhouse in 1996. 96. So, again, how did that happen again? I'm just saying, the facts aren't adding up here. But that's not the only story that has come out against Uncle Trump, right? But then also, I do want to address this, because fellas, we all know, if we brought a chick into a spot with one of our homies, one of our friends, and one of our friends, our homie, somebody we know, was like feeling on our woman, we all know how that's ending. Fellas, comment below. We all know how that's going. Like, ain't no way a dude is bringing his woman, to a spot where he has a friend and he's just watching his friend grope on, his lover. Like, nah, that ain't happening, bro. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I've never seen it. Fellas, comment below. You ever seen any mess like that? Like, where I'm from, like, it's instant fists are flying. Like, somebody's face is meeting four knuckles. I guarantee it. I ain't gonna say how they gonna meet. All right, we're gonna try to keep it a little PG, but somebody's face is meeting four knuckles somehow, some kind of way. Like, you getting a 4-piece and a biscuit. Like, good night. All right. Oh my goodness. Wow. But there's also another story that has come out, and I'm gonna play a couple of clips for you guys, because this one is also just as crazy. Check it out.
In terms of the sister, I understand why they're hurt by this story, and I obviously feel very sorry, as we all do, for this family. But the fact remains, when the family visited Donald Trump, as I note in the story, he said kind words and offered to pay for the funeral. 5 months later, when the subject came up, he had very unkind things to say about the funeral. And I would note that he didn't pay for the funeral. So, again, I understand the sensitivities around this, but the truth is the truth. And people in the meeting, people who had become somewhat inured to Donald Trump's method of speaking, were shocked by what was said, and that's how I learned about it.
Yeah, and the detail about how ultimately he did not pay for the funeral is a story unto itself, even without the comments.
So there's a story going on now that Trump, and you saw it there at the bottom, called a Mexican, like he had some nasty words to say about a young lady who a military young lady who unfortunately passed away. And that story is unequivocally, in my humble opinion, false. And from somebody who would actually know, who's been in these rooms, in these private, with these private conversations, take it from her.
The Guillen family tragically lost their sister, lost their daughter. She served our country honorably. And they characterize a meeting, one in which I was in. I was not in this December meeting they speak of, but a meeting with this family. And here's what the sister said about this story. Wow, I don't appreciate how you all are exploiting my sister's death for politics, hurtful, deceitful, the important changes she made for service members, and indeed she did. President Donald Trump did nothing but show respect to my family and Vanessa. I was in that July meeting. That was undoubtedly the case. But the reason my antennas went up last night when I saw the name Jeffrey Goldberg is because I was on a tarmac in September of 2020, and a story popped from him in the Atlantic, and it was the suckers and losers story we have all heard. Within hours, I was able to collect more than a dozen individuals, several who were firsthand sources saying that never happened. Zach Fuentes, who was an aide of John Kelly, came out and said that never happened. We found contemporaneous documents disputing the reporter who said Trump did not go to the cemetery, not because of a bad weather call. John Bolton's book disputes that. We found a contemporaneous document to dispute that. My point is, this is based on 4 anonymous sources, 2 weeks before an election, 100%. Disputed by people on the record, and yet it led a CBS News broadcast. What a shame.
Did they
what
include
a shame.
your portion? Did they include?
No, they never reached out to me. I was in that first meeting, never reached out to me. But I will say this quickly. Donald Trump, I have never seen him more downtrodden than when the suckers and losers story came out. Stuff came out about his finances, fake stories. He didn't care. He was devastated by that story. I remember him saying, what kind of monster would ever say words like that? This is shameful reporting from the Atlantic, in my opinion.
Well, to the former president's point.
So, yeah, the story came out from the same individual who came out with the fake suckers and losers hoax, right? And, now it's being run all across the media as if, this news story was 1,000% true. 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, really, before an election. And, it's no surprise. It also, really shows their desperation. But I also want to play a clip from the actual family of the young lady that Trump was allegedly talking about and hear what they had to say about this whole situation.
Initially, when we first spoke, he did mention that this was going to be, again, a wrap-up of the 4-year anniversary and how we passed legislation and all the achievements that were done in Vanessa's honor. And when I came across he never, not once mentioned any of the comments that he was going to put in this article or how it was going to be published this late in the year. He said it was going to be around April, and I never saw the article. I didn't follow up, and it was surprising enough to see how he reached out to Natalie shortly about, 2 days ago, just wanting to confirm what was said, and I released a statement to him letting him know that I was not happy about what he was going to release, and I did not wish to be a part of it anymore or have my sister's name be a part of that article. And he still proceeded to not only publish it, but basically stain my sister's image with this, and it's very upsetting.
Yeah, so the family is not happy about this story at all whatsoever. But, we kind of had a clue that this was going to happen, right? One, the clue is Trump is winning. So, of course, and I said this a while back, expect things to get worse. And I guess this is one of them, right? I'm hearing, whispers about some other alleged story that has been proposed to several organizations, but they've all declined it because it is clearly and obviously fake. But I'm sure somebody somewhere who's extremely desperate is going to try to publish it. When it comes out, just know it's BS, okay? BS from everything that I've been seeing and I've been hearing that the news story is complete BS. But, I'm going to play this clip from a long time ago, and this is exactly what is happening now.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
Sound familiar? Exactly what Democrats are attempting to do to Donald Trump. Sounds real familiar, doesn't it? Call him a fascist every chance you get. Stick his name to dictators, right? Like Hitler, bad folks. Putin, bad folks. Stick his name to those folks, and you do it every chance you get. Every chance you get until it starts to stick in some people's minds. Sounds real similar to now, doesn't it? Not only that, but Nancy Pelosi famously said this.
And it's a diversionary tactic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Oh, it's a tactic. We're going to claim a bunch of falsehoods on someone, and we're going to merchandise it to the press, and then we're going to use the press reporting on it to validate what we're saying. See, the press reported on it. Wrap it up, right? It all comes full circle. You see? You see what I'm saying? Like, they have telegraphed exactly what they were going to do for a long time now. Those two clips are old. Obviously, the one was in black and white, so that was clearly old. But even the Nancy Pelosi clip, that's old. That's not new. And,
confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him.
When you have her doing press conferences to say, well, Donald Trump said this, and she's reading off of a script, you know it's getting bad. You know it's getting real bad. Wrap up smear, right? Wrap up smear. What the guy said in 1943 in the directives, we're going to paint him as a fascist, and we're going to keep saying it, right? Until it sticks in people's minds. Exactly what's happening now. I mean, that is those two clips are perfect telegraphs of what is happening right now. Matter of fact, I'll probably make those two clips into shorts today. So be looking out for those, right? Because America needs to see it. I think once people see it and realize, oh, they told us they were going to do this, and now it's happening right in front of our face. Okay, well, we're going to disregard everything that they're saying and doing, right? Because they did this the first time that Trump ran for president. Oh, Trump's going to start World War III. America's going to go down the tubes, blah, 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 blah. We were great. Everything was good. No new wars. Like, money was flowing, exchange of hands. Gas was cheap. Groceries were cheap. Like, we were good. But because they say it so many times and they have the backing of mainstream media, it sticks in some people's minds. Unfortunately, it really does. But yeah, seems like we're on track to win, and that's why I believe these stories are coming out, me personally. Could they be true? Maybe. Yeah, they could be. But the timing of them, you know, like that is so suspicious. So suspicious, right? You know, like, it's just like, come on, bro. Really? Less than 2 weeks before the election? That's when you guys want to come out with all of these different stories? That's when you guys want to, like, oh, by the way, hey, Trump did this, or Trump said that. Trump did this, Trump said that. Like, now you want to try to do all this 2 weeks before an election that he's projected to win now? Why didn't you do it before? I have a sneaky suspicion as to possibly, right, why, you know, maybe that didn't happen. Because in the past 2 elections, Trump was projected to lose. Yep. 2016, Hillary Clinton was supposed to take that big W. It was supposed to be all Hillary Clinton. So they didn't need the BS. They didn't need the crazy smears. And once again, maybe it's true, but they didn't need the stories. 2020, Trump was projected to lose. They didn't need the crazy stories, or at least they felt like they didn't. He almost pulled it off. Some might say, I'm not going to get into that today. Y'all know where I was about to go with it. But now that Trump is obviously and clearly going to win, now these stories come out. Just suspicious timing. What do you say? Let me know. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.